I'm 44 years old. And I was telling someone the other day that I was feeling kind of older, and they were like, be quiet, you're only 44, that's so young. Well, if I'm so young, then why do I think about sheds so much? I think about sheds constantly. What kind of shed could I get? How big of a shed could I put in my yard? Would I put the shed on a concrete slab, or would I get pavers to put on the bottom of the shed? Would it have like a wood floor or a plastic floor? What could I put in the shed? Wouldn't it be nice to hide all of my things in the shed when I'm not using my things? Would it be okay if the shed was in the sunshine, or would that deteriorate the shed? Would I have to get a new shed after a couple years? Like, what are the best brands of sheds? Young people don't think about sheds this much.
Good morning, sweet world, and welcome to the No Dunks podcast on the Athletic Network. It's Wednesday, January 8th, 2025. I'm Jay Skeets here in the Classic Factory, and next to me, the bearded one, my top shot hot boy, Trae Kirby.
Heyo.
Hey, yo. And over yonder, making the magic happen, super producer JD.
Hello.
There he is. And finally, outside for a third straight day, he's as cold as ice. It's Tas Bellis.
Hey everybody, all that shed talk sounded so nice. I would love to be in a shed right now.
I bet you would, yeah.
It's chilly.
We're showing -2 Celsius. I think that's like, what, 28 Fahrenheit. It got a little colder than yesterday. Is the wind picking up, Tas? Is that true?
Yes. According to reports, it's 20 degrees Fahrenheit because of the wind.
Oh.
It's chilly. Like, you can see my breath. Actually, let me go up to this recycling bin so we get a little contrast.
Okay.
Hold on, we're adjusting the camera.
Hold on, we're adjusting the camera.
Oh, sorry, JD. That was
Breathe
quick.
away.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't really see it. Nope, can't see much.
This is not sponsored by Top Shot.
Breathe hotter.
So yes, Tas paying off his December pick'em loss. He's outside all week, and I guess the good news for us,
There's my
maybe
breath. I
bad
can
news
kinda
for
see it.
Tas,
Yeah, go ahead.
is we are still scheduled to get snow for Friday.
Right.
4 inches, Tas, they're telling us. Yeah.
What?
That's what they say.
Oh, it's gonna be a long night.
That's what they say.
It does not feel like Atlanta this week. It
No.
feels like I'm home in Canada.
Yeah.
This has got to be the coldest run in Atlanta since we moved here a decade ago.
Yeah.
Close.
I think
Could
when it's
be. Yeah, it's
all
cold,
said and
man.
done, if it is the 5 or 6 weeks, I think you're right for sure in terms of the length of the cold. All right, well, let's get into some NBA talk. We had some wedgies. Maybe that'll warm you up, Tas. We had 2 last night because they come in bunches. Number 17 on the season was Mark Williams with like the volleyball spike offensive rebound attempt, and that one jammed in there. I'm not even sure they ever got that ball out. And then a little bit later in the night, Dennis Schroeder for the Warriors. Maybe the only thing he's done in a Warriors uniform. Sorry. He stuck number 18 there in the Bay. So not bad. Pace ticking up a little bit to 46. But let's get into those games because, Tas, we had a very exciting finish in Utah. Trae Young capped a spectacular 24-point, 20-assist night with the game-winning, buzzer-beating 3 from beyond half court to give the Hawks a 124-121 victory over the Jazz. This came after Sexton hit a pretty crazy 3 to tie it, but as you see here, if you're joining us on YouTube, Trae pulls from half court, swishes it, shocks the crowd, and the Hawks the Hawks teammates go nuts. Did you stay up to watch this one live, Tas, or were you catching this in the morning?
Oh, absolutely not. Didn't stay up to watch this one. But what a hilarious ending to see Utah tie up that game on such a wild play where it was inbounded. Dyson Daniels got the deflection, old Triple D, hit the ball, and it happened to go to Colin Sexton, who hit the 3. And then Trae Young just walks into a 3, hits it. At that point, he was only 2 of 9 from 3. He wasn't scorching hot by any means, but drops it and then smiles as he does the too cold ice. I don't think I've ever seen a Trae Young do his, I'm shivering cold. Yeah. No, he does the shiver, of course, but he doesn't do it smiling. That was odd. I think he was.
True.
I think he was just kind of. He was after a bad shooting night for him, and what happened there for Colin Sexton to tie it like that and just have such a quick one. I think even he was surprised that he can hit those shots, but obviously he can hit those shots. standard Trae Young shot.
Yeah, I like that he waved like bye-bye to the crowd real quick, then did the shiver as quick as he could while he was smiling because then he got mobbed. So he had to move quickly with the celebrations there because this was wild. No timeouts, of course, for the Hawks. That's why they just inbounded it to Trae Young. He sort of slowly, in a weird way, brought it up, let it fly from 49 feet, some say 50 feet. It splashed. Apparently it's the 6th longest game-winning buzzer beater in NBA history, and man, it was pure TK as the Hawks get a win here.
Nice swish. Tie game as well when Trae took it, so he's like going Steph Curry versus OKC mode. Take my time, get a good shot. 49 to 50 feet. I think his right foot was further back than his left foot. That's probably why it threw him off. And then, the big smile pile. That was cool. But crazy shot by Colin Sexton. My guy, Veet, was looking defeated. He was down on his hands and knees. Trae just runs the ball up and drains it. Awesome last 3.5 minutes for Trae Young. Assisted on 2 3-pointers, made 2 3-pointers, including the game winner, made 2 free throws. He accounted for all 14 of the Hawks' points, and he had a clutch flop with a minute left to get him an extra possession. He kind of did it all for the Hawks in this game. They needed everything to beat a Jazz team that was playing pretty well, getting a ton of dunks from Walker Kessler, a lot of points from Lauri Markkanen, but nice stuff from Trae to put the team on his back and get him the dub.
Yeah, and the Hawks here used a balanced sort of attack with 7 guys tasked scoring in double figures, and Vit Krejci, despite being defeated at the end, thinking, oh crap, we're going to overtime, maybe that was my fault, Sexton hit that incredible shot in the corner. He did have a good game, and he started for the Hawks. I think it was like the 5th time he had started this season for Atlanta. 13 points, 5 of 6 shooting in 22 minutes. He was solid, but it's this idea, like, I guess the Hawks at their best have unlocked this, like, everybody chip in, Trae sets you up. I mean, this is his 3rd game now this season of 2020. Like, we don't even talk about it. We talk about the 20 rebounds. What happened to the applesauce? Isn't that what we called 20 assists? We never talk about it. This guy, that's all he does. But this is the Hawks at their best, Tass, I think, when everybody's contributing. It doesn't just have to be Trae.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll get to a list later on this show of the top 5 point guards that have sacrificed themselves for their team, and that is exactly what Trae Young is doing for this team. He has used Jalen Johnson a heck of a lot more, but no Jalen Johnson in this game. He wasn't out there. He's usually the guy, the second guy. They are both top 4 in passes per game. It's those 2 guys, and without him, everybody else got going. We saw another guy no one talks about, Zachary Reese-Sachet, with a beautiful dunk. He's the number one pick, that no one talks about because he doesn't have great games from game to game to game, but he has nice plays occasionally. He had a nice one in this one. And from the Utah Jazz perspective, I should say, speaking about young guys, you mentioned Walker Kessler, Lauri Markkanen. There was minutes with those 2, and Kyle Filipowski. I was even a little bit jealous just watching that because they are obviously bottom of the barrel. They're not having a great season, although they had a 2-game win streak coming into this game. It's the time of year where some teams kind of see the other team be, inferior to them, and they don't play that hard. But the Jazz play extremely hard, and those 3 guys playing together is exactly what bad teams need, just to see what they have in front of them. So those 3 guys, those are 3 giant men. See if they can go big. As a Raptors backer, I'm so jealous that they're healthy and they can play, while the Raptors absolutely cannot. But they just can see what they got, and they're going to beat teams. They almost had a 3-game win streak if it wasn't for Trae Young.
As for the Hawks, too, I guess when we went from 2024 to 2025, the Hawks were 18-15. They were 3 games above 500. And it was like, holy crap, they're rolling right now. I said this and I tweeted it out. They then dropped their next 3 after that. They're so committed to the we gotta be 500 bit that they lost 3 on the road here. They're amidst a long road trip here, a 6-game road trip. They have 1 more on the road. But then they get this one to stop the bleeding there, TK. Now 19-18. We'll see if they can finish it off against the Phoenix Suns, who are amidst their own rough stretch of their season. But, they would be looking at a split road trip if they can get that victory. They're either going back 2-4 or 3-3 here to Atlanta, to cold Atlanta.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
2-4 or 3-3. That's Hawks style right there. They've hit a little bit of a skid, I think, since the NBA Cup, just like the Milwaukee Bucks have. Turns out it's not the Celebration Room. any team can have a poor performance in the month leading after, but I put it all on Quinn Snyder. Hawks are 5-6 since he switched to black glasses.
Oh, wow.
Somebody at the NBA Cup, a reporter told him that they were being called Sally Jesse Raphael glasses, and he said, I'm never going to wear them again. 100% facts.
And he had just found that out at the NBA Cup?
He just found that out at the NBA Cup,
Somebody
which they
finally
lost.
told him. Wow.
So probably 5-7. No, that one counted for the regular
That one
season,
did
5
count.
and 6.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I saw just Raphael's on TV a long time ago.
Yes, quite a long time ago.
Yeah, but I'm amazed that nobody told him before that they looked like Sally
Right.
Jesse Raphael
Yes, exactly.
glasses.
Exactly.
That's the shocking part to me. But anyway, Trae Young from deep. How many Horries do you think you got on the NBA.com Horry scale out of 5?
4 Horries?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's it?
Well, what do you mean? You wanted all 5?
Yeah.
No, because they wisely take into account it's early January. It's
Okay.
against the Utah Jazz.
Okay.
I mean, okay, you gotta knock it down. And it wasn't like to win the game. Like if he misses that, it is just going to overtime. So I think they docked it a little bit. I think 4 out of 5 was correct. Anyway, let's move on.
Okay.
Task to Zion Williamson making his return last night. He was back. Edwards scored 32, though, as the Wolves topped the Pelicans, 104-97. But let's start with Zion Williamson. What did you think? Were you impressed how he looked and the stat line he put up, Tess?
Oh, great stat line in 20 minutes. That's for sure. I was waiting for a dunk. Where's the dunk coming from Zion Williamson? It happened 4 minutes into this game, a monster, and then the monster windmill. Windmills seem like they've gone out of style, like Sally Jesse Raphael's glasses, I guess. But they seem to be back occasionally. They don't happen all that much. But a monstrous dunk, and he played a possession without a shoe. I mean, he fought for rebounds without a shoe. He decided, I don't need this thing. I guess he's comfortable with going through shoes as he did in Duke that one time, and just playing an entire possession. So, yes, he looked good. It is such a sad season for the Pelicans that it seems like they got a victory, to me anyways, because Zion Williamson came back.
Yeah, it's
but
sort of
it
true.
doesn't matter. But DeJounte Murray was awesome in this game. It was a 29-6-6 for him. That was his best game as a member of the Pelicans for me. 6 assists, 6 steals. That hasn't been done in a long time for any New Orleans Pelican. Drew Holiday did it 6 years ago in 2019, according to Will Guillory. That's what they were looking for at the beginning of the season when they acquired him. But on the other side, Anthony Edwards was Anthony Edwards again. I mean, he had a dunk. Anthony Edwards' dunks are back. Him and DiVincenzo for the second game in the starting lineup seems to work. DiVincenzo getting up 8 threes, and that's what it's about with him beside him. It's not about him running the point every single possession and going through pick and rolls, but quite often he'll run a pick and roll. He'll say, I'm just fine, just taking a step back, not even going into the pick and roll, just taking a step back and hitting a 3. That's what he has to get back to, get those threes up to the number that he did with the Knicks last year with 8. So they do seem like him and Edwards, and whether it's Naz Reid or whoever, it's a village now at the point guard spot for the Minnesota Timberwolves. It takes a village to run that point, and so him. That's why I said village.
Yeah,
I needed to go, circle back and do it again. Anyways, you got him. They all need to be there, and they were last night, and that's all it takes. I think Anthony Edwards has learned how to be a point guard in this league. Every year he's gotten better at that, and so those two guys working together.
Let's hear your thoughts on Zion. 22 points, 6 boards, 4 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. He was a +8 in around 28 minutes there. Had the dunks like Tass talked about. What'd you see from him?
He scored 22 points in 28 minutes on 60% shooting. He's 100% back. Like, he looked like he never missed any time.
I thought he looked in great shape. He looked
He was
slim.
getting off the floor really easily. Obviously caught an alley-oop pretty early on, had the 360, which after the game he said, it's just another day at the office. Guy never goes to the office.
That guy works from home a lot.
He's been working remotely for a while here, but he said the focus I had during this rehab was a bit more extreme. I feel like I didn't even miss a beat, but gained a beat. I've never heard anybody say that.
Gained a beat.
I gained a beat. But
Wow.
he did look good. And the key is, they play tonight. The Pelicans play tonight, and it's a question mark. I got to talk to the doctors and see if they're going to let me play. They probably won't, because they said his minutes limit was about what he played last night.
Yeah.
Great coincidence. But Zion looked good. He was making plays defensively. I think he's a good defensive playmaker. Maybe not a great positional defender. He definitely lost track of his assignment a lot of times in this game, but he gets steals. He can get blocks. He's good on the boards. He's a good passer. Clearly, he's their best player.
Yeah.
And you see him, how much easier it makes stuff for a guy like DeJounte Murray. They're getting some three-pointers. If they get a better performance from CJ McCollum, 1 for 14 on the night, they probably win this game against the Timberwolves, who their starters definitely were better, but they scored 104 against one of the worst defenses in the league. They weren't knocking it down, but a nice plus 12 to start the game for the starters, and then to start the third quarter, plus 4 as well. They were key to a 19-2 run that kind of blended both the starters and the bench units. They look like they are a little bit more cohesive right now, with DiVincenzo stepping in for Conley.
Yeah, and this is great that Zion is back, but you said it, Tass. Like, the season, it's already over for New Orleans. Like, they're 7-30. Like, it's like, it's brutal. So what matters now? To me, there's like 2 questions. One, can they trade Brandon Ingram? Can they get anything back for him? Feels like he'd be leaving regardless. And then can Zion stay healthy? Can he like stay healthy for the rest of the season, let's call it, to at least install some hope and organizational confidence that he is a building block or could be? And, you know, we've been saying that for years now, unfortunately. That was the depressing part of him coming back and, like, seeing the awesome dunks and seeing the great stat line and the shooting percentage. It's like, oh, my God, though, how many times have we done this? Like, unfortunately, like, he looks awesome. When he plays, he's awesome.
Yep.
Then he gets hurt. And he's gone for a while. And it's usually like the hamstring. And then he comes back and we do it all over again. But there's like, you know, rarely has he been consistently be able to put it together. And when he does even, then he has like the worst moments where he has to go out. Like the one year where he obviously got to the play-in and then got injured. So those to me, like that's it, Tass. Like that's what the Pelicans season looks like, right? Can you trade Brandon Ingram and Zion can stay healthy?
Yeah. Unfortunately, they're in the Western Conference. I could be convinced that even if they were 7-30, that there would be some hope in the Eastern Conference of making the play-in tournament. But in the West, there's absolutely zero chance. Here we are, 4 weeks away from the trade deadline, and I have to say, if I'm David Griffin or I'm Trajan Langdon in the Pelicans front office, there has to be that conversation as to, of course, trading Brandon Ingram, trading potentially CJ McCollum. And I know the talk about trading Zion Williamson, it's not, it ain't all that popular right now, but I'm sure they're having that conversation just to see the 4 weeks here, if he plays well, if that would be something that other teams are looking at and saying, at least he's healthy now. I mean, if there's any time, it's when he is healthy. So that I think that does enter the discussion, because as soon as he gets past that date in the summer, he gets guaranteed money for next year, and it's just so painful to watch every single year him not be able to play and get all that huge contract money. So I think that has to enter the discussion for this Pelicans team, or else you're doing it all over again next season. And there's lots of players who could be traded in the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, the other game of note last night, LaMelo Ball scoring 32 as the Hornets beat the Suns 115-104. They snapped a 10-game losing streak.
There we go.
And I guess the good vibes with the Phoenix Suns lasted, I don't know what, call it 20, 21 hours with Beal coming off the bench, Nurkic coming off the bench, them getting a win, but then they turn around, and I thought this was an abysmal performance from them on both sides of the floor. Good on LaMelo, good on the Hornets. They sort of had their team finally here, but your takeaways from the Hornets beating the Suns?
I thought this was super disappointing from the Suns as well. Ugly first quarter for both teams, and then the Hornets basically ran Phoenix out of the gym. It felt like 26-4 in fast break points, 59-42 on the glass. They were just playing harder, they were playing faster, and they were getting better shots and cooler passes. LaMelo Ball rocketing it off the glass to himself, to a touch pass to Brandon Miller, who probably should have went up with it, but he found, I guess, Mark Williams underneath for a foul right after. Yeah. That was really cool to see. That's why the guy's an all-star, because he does that in a regular season game. Imagine what he's going to do when the game doesn't actually matter. But, yeah, Bradley Beal, great game off the bench his first time. He doesn't want to come off the bench. We said, if you don't want to come off the bench, don't play so well. So he went and had 10 points on 13 shots. He looked bad.
He's like, noted.
Yes, but he was better than Nurkic.
Yeah, well,
that's another guy who could easily be had if anybody wants him, but I don't know that that's the case. Disappointing for the Suns. They're probably chalking it up to this being a back-to-back. It looked like they lost their legs for sure, but they gave no effort in the second half.
Yeah. Were you more impressed by the Hornets' task, disappointed in the Suns, or a little bit of both from last night's game?
I'm not disappointed by the Suns. Not surprised. The win against Philadelphia wasn't all that convincing. That second quarter, in Charlotte. Your legs should not be dead. That second quarter, it truly did look like a pickup run. I think Eric Collins of the Hornets broadcast said this looks like a pickup run. They were just running up and down, and the Hornets shots were a little bit better, and the shots were going down. But it truly looked like guys not caring enough. And
saying it looked like an all-star game.
Yeah, to some degree, it definitely did. To see the Suns bench get destroyed. If Beal knows or believes he's a starter in this league, and Nurkic going to the bench along with Grayson Allen, who they just gave a big contract to.
3 guys that could start on a lot of teams in all honesty in the NBA.
Beal minus 21, Nurkic minus 22, and Allen minus 17. That 26-6 run to end the first half for the Charlotte Hornets was it. That was the entire game. Watching this thing, the Phoenix Suns, they just don't have the heart to come back out of the locker room and fight. And so I understand why Mike Budenholzer decided, okay, we got to change something. Beal to the bench, Nurkic to the bench. But if those guys in a team that's extremely top heavy aren't performing, then your guys like Ryan Dunn or Oso Ighodaro, they can't be enough. And at the beginning of the season, while they were streaking, I thought, okay, this team looks deep enough. But there's obviously not enough heart, and that goes back to last year, goes back to the year before that, I suppose, when Chris Paul was there. I don't know if they should just give Frank Vogel his job back. That it wasn't his fault, obviously. This team just doesn't have a leadership. The Durant, Booker, Beal combo or trio just is not it. And so this is a team, obviously, that could be the one that makes a deal, especially with Matt Ishbia and how he tends to make the big deals. This 4 weeks, it just got a lot more interesting. This could be the team that makes the Jimmy Butler deal if Beal is willing to waive his no trade clause.
Right. Yeah, the latest slide with Kevin Durant playing, I think we do have to note that, has dropped the Suns here to the bottom of the 12-team race for 10 spots. That's where they're at. They're 16-19, so they're in the 12th spot in the West. They're 1.5 games out of the number 10 seed. They're 3.5 games out of the number 6 seed. So, when you look at it like that, put together a good week or two, have a couple of these other teams ahead of you falter. I mean, we saw the Lakers lose a rough one last night. We see it happen. You're right back in it. But, you do have this crazy, expensive team, and we had high hopes and the coaching change and a little more depth. Like, they had a good summer, we thought, for the most part, considering what they could and couldn't do. And here they are, once again, disappointing.
It's good that Devin Booker had a good game last night. 39 points, 10 assists. He's been disappointing this season. He hasn't carried the Suns at all. He should actually be stepping into more of a playmaking role, I think, with Beal going to the bench. But he's not an all-star this season. Yeah. They've got 3 max players. One of them is playing like a max player. That's really the heart of the issue, I think, for the Suns. If Booker's averaging 30 a game, they probably look a lot better. If he's playing the way he played last season, he's been an all-NBA guy, was awesome during the Olympics. He just hasn't been quite the same. And then you look at the way things played out last night. 39 for him, 26 for Durant, 10 for Beal. But that's the next highest scorer is Beal? I don't know. They just don't have enough, it feels like, nor can they get enough.
And you can count on one hand, at least this season, games where all 3 of those guys, of their main guys, all play well in the same night. It's so rare. It's like, you're right, Booker has a monster game where he can't miss, but maybe it's a slow night for Durant or a really bad game for Beal. Then you could flip that to where there are nights where Kevin Durant's been on fire and Booker can't hit a shot for whatever reason. It's like they rarely are on the same page in the same game, and maybe that's just the makeup of the team and the type of players those guys are. But this is very bad, and it's a great point, Tass. You would think with Ishbia there and not meeting expectations and now falling out of play-in spots, for crying out loud, that maybe they are we do something drastic. Now, the whole Bradley Beal of it all, does he waive the no trade clause? There's that. But do you get even crazier? Is it wild to imagine them moving off of either Kevin Durant or Devin Booker? Is that crazy to say out loud?
I think so.
Okay.
I think you could get crazy and get more teams involved in a trade where it does work out financially to not even trade Beal, to get Grayson Allen being a big part of it, making nearly 30 mil, but maybe it ain't enough. I do think that part is a little bit drastic, although it is Matt Ishbia. Maybe he is willing to trade something at the top of his roster, but I think the bigger thing is he's just pot committed. You got to go all in. And I'm sure that's what he's thinking. And I don't know if Beal is comfortable waiving the no trade clause. But watching the body language of a guy like Yusuf Nurkic, who is expected to be good on this team because they don't have a lot of depth with their bigs. We talked about Mason Plumlee yesterday, a guy like Ryan Dunn, who started the season great shooting the three ball. He didn't shoot at Virginia. He only shot 12 threes in his 2 years there, and then he shot 13 in the preseason, and he was shooting well, and then he was an 0 for last night, only shooting 31% from three. You can't expect that from rookies, and that's extremely disappointing from a guy like Yusuf Nurkic. He has got the biggest role he's had in his career to be a starting center on a team, and they just have so many holes. And so it's whatever is available. I think Matt Ishbia will do it, but yeah, the finances of the new CBA limit it.
Other games last night, Jalen Green scored 22 of his 29 in the third quarter. Rockets took care of the Wizards. Mavs ended a 5-game losing streak. They beat the Lakers 118-97. Tatum scored 29 as the Celtics held off the depleted Nuggets. No Jokic in that one, 118-106. And then Bam led the Heat past the Warriors 114-98 in a back-to-back situation for them. So good Miami win, bad Warriors loss. We'll talk a lot more about Steph Curry and the Warriors in a second. But any other takeaways from any of those games last night, TK?
I watched Nuggets Celtics.
Yeah.
Disappointing that Jokic was a late scratch. I think he's got an illness, but Denver battled, I thought, in this one. But the Celtics just always had another run. I thought that the game-ending run was going to be the 15-0 in the middle of the fourth quarter. Porzingis got a dunk. Drew Holiday got a three. Jalen Brown got a layup. Horford got a three. Tatum got a midi. Then he got fouled on a three-point shot. 15-0. Great stuff. But Denver battled back once again, and the Celtics closed it out with a couple of Drew Holiday buckets. He's been playing pretty well lately. Struggled to shoot the ball to start the season, 34% on the year, but 38% from three the last 10 games, 43% the last 5 games. That's very encouraging. Also encouraging, big Kristaps Porzingis game, 25 points, 11 rebounds, was just looking aggressive to get in the lane and give the Celtics that little change up that they brought him in for last season. We know they're a great three-point shooting team. They like to drive and kick, but when it's switch mode, get it into the post, because Porzingis is a great post-up player now. Didn't used to be. Learned it in Washington, and now he's good at it. Getting his legs under him, I think he said he's 80 to 85% back.
Okay.
And this looked like his best game since he's returned.
Yeah, I agree. And they definitely, made a concerted effort to get him the ball early, like you said. Now, no Jokic, so that changes the equation of the game. But, yeah, KP finished with 15 points in the first quarter, 6 of 10 shooting. He had a big block on, I guess it was DeAndre Jordan in the fourth quarter. DeAndre Jordan was trying to slam that home. KP met him at the summit. He blocked it. They went the other way. I thought this was his best game. Tatum did his thing, 29 and 11. You said Drew Holiday was good. But, yeah, the only disappointing part was there's no Jokic for the Nuggets. It was like, you don't like their chances too much against the mighty Celtics. Tas, any of those other games you wanted to touch on?
Well, sure. That Celtics game there, I don't know if you guys just heard the wind there. I wasn't blowing my whistle, but it sounded loud through my headphones, I guess. As far as the Celtics go, Jalen Brown knocked over a beer. Well, I was confused when he knocked that beer over. There was ice down as well. Was there beer? Or was there ice in the beer? Or was that another drink? I just couldn't decide.
That was a big spill.
That was quite a delay.
Yeah, that was a long one.
And then Jalen Brown got called for a travel on the very next play after, right? I think his feet were all slippery.
Yeah.
And he
that's
drove
right.
to the hoop and he planted and both his feet went we're going the other way.
Yeah.
Mop up.
I think from the other games, it's great to see the Heat. Great performance. Jaime Jaquez, it's great to see him starting again year one. Awesome year starting. Now year two, he's kind of back in that role. He had 18 points against Golden State, 16 points, 10 assists in the game before, 10 rebounds, in the game before that. Oh man, I'm all over. He had a
triple-double the game before.
Yeah. So that was a career high for him. He looks like a different guy. As far as the Rockets, I know it's the Rockets Wizards. Nobody really cares. But Ahmed Thompson taking the starting spot of Jabari Smith, who's out for a month. He looks ridiculous. Awesome. He looks so good. So he had a monster. 20, 15 boards, 4 assists, 3 steals. It's all excellency with him and Asar Thompson. That's their middle name. And it always confuses me, but they have the same middle name. XLNC. That's their middle name. And the Mavs look like the team that went to the NBA Finals yesterday. I know no Kyrie and no Luka, so how did they look like that? Well, they defended, they played hard, they rebounded, they limited LeBron and AD to 39 combined points. Quentin Grimes somehow, that trade with Detroit that we all kind of didn't talk about a lot for Tim Hardaway. They both won the trade. Quentin Grimes was awesome yesterday, and they all hit the threes they needed. Jaden Hardy 3 threes, Klay Thompson 3 threes. They just did what they needed to do, and that's exactly what got them to the NBA Finals. Obviously, no Kyrie, no Lucas, so it doesn't feel the same, but they just played really, really well.
My final question from last night's games: who had the best dunk last night? Your nominees. Obviously, I think the Zion Williamson 360 tomahawk there, pretty impressive. LeBron James at 40 years old, cramming one with the left hand that had the Lakers bench going nuts. Trace Jackson Davis had the highest dunk score of the night on a big left-hand dunk for him. And then we had Cooper Flagg throwing one down in college basketball. I don't know if you caught that one.
I did not catch
quite
that
the
one.
poster. It's pretty impressive.
Too young.
So you had to pick, where would you go? Or maybe I'm missing something else.
I didn't know there was any other choice besides LeBron.
Okay.
Have you ever seen that? A switch hands dunk in traffic with that much power? That was incredible. That's a top 5 dunk this year. Maybe top 2.
What do you think it scored on dunk score?
I looked. I only cared about the style rating. That should have been 100 for style rating.
5.7 overall. Yeah. So what is going on? Tass, did you have a favorite from last night?
Yeah, the LeBron one, just because it was a rebound and sort of a broken play, he kind of had a runway to go at it. I don't know. I guess I'm like a dunk scorer judge. I need to find a hole in something and be pessimistic about it. It was an awesome dunk. So that wins. The Zion Williamson, maybe just because he's been out for 2 months, that was beautiful.
I love those purple jerseys, too.
Yeah.
I think they look great.
They look nice.
I need to just make them their go-to jerseys. I think he looks cool in them. I think that's a part of it. But it was a big dunk. Big dunk.
It was gorgeous.
All right, Tass, I know you've been working on something here to show some love to some of the point guards who are taking a bit of a back seat for the betterment of their team here.
Yeah, let's count down the top 5 point guards that have sacrificed themselves for their team, put themselves and their game on the backboard.
Top 5, top 5, top 5. Top 5, top 5, top 5. Top 5, top 5.
At number 5, let's start with Stephen Curry. The guy just won a gold medal in the Olympics, just finished off a gold medal performance, hitting bucket after bucket after bucket. But coming into the season, he said, okay, Klay's gone. I need to take fewer shots for my team to get better. This guy is taking 3 fewer shots per game than last season. That's the fewest shots he's taken in a long time. 2011 and 2012 was the last time he shot this few shots. It's the lowest usage rate he's had in a decade, and somehow he's increased his assists by 1 assist per game. And it was working. To start the season, they had the top 4 offense in the league after a month. So Steph Curry, number 5, clutch player of the year last year, comes into this season and says, okay, I know what I got to do. This ain't the Olympics. This is a marathon. And so he's doing it night in and night out.
I would say that this is more the Warriors sacrificing Steph Curry's stats for the team, because I don't think Steph Curry should have the lowest usage rate of the past 15 years or whatever you said it is. It's just the fact that teams are taking the ball out of Curry's hands, which adds up to another assist as well, but fewer shots. I would be trying to get Steph Curry as many shots as possible, personally, on a team that's so bad offensively.
Yeah, but Buddy Hield can't hit a 3 to save his life suddenly.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's no Kuminga now, who at least is a scorer, and Klay Thompson has moved on, and Kevin Durant, that's a long time ago. Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of offensive firepower around him. But we'll get more into Steph Curry in a second, Tass.
At number 4, I'm going with Ja Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies, because that guy is running. That guy is pushing the ball. The Memphis Grizzlies have the fastest pace in the NBA, and it's the fastest of Morant's career. He's got. What are you guys laughing at? My headphones.
That looks like a brim on a hat.
Yeah, I started to see that as it starts to peak down. Yeah, it happens. It happens. Remember, we did the G League game last year. I literally had him over my eyes, basically. They were like a blindfold in that game.
Those Canadian mitts are great, Tass, but I think we got to buy you some of the gloves that you can use your phone out there with.
Yeah, well, maybe I should do shows outside.
Listen, I guess.
Listen, I've dreamed of being a meteorologist.
Yeah.
You see all those people who have to deal with hurricanes and the wind coming through, and I've always wanted to try it.
Yeah.
But after doing this, nope.
No thanks.
That's difficult work. Sure. Just like it's difficult work for Ja Morant. Game in and game out, that guy pushes the ball. Looking at the Grizzlies stats, I don't need my glove. Looking at the Grizzlies stats, over a quarter of the Grizzlies shots are in transition. They average 35 points transition games or transition points per game. That leads the NBA. That's a lot of points per game to score in transition. How's he doing it? He's staying fresh. He's playing 7.5 fewer minutes per game this season, and somehow he's averaging about the same number of assists per game as last year. His assist percentage, he's assisting on 40% of the Grizzlies' possessions while he's on the floor, and he's taking 3 fewer shots than last season as well, just trying to get everybody involved. The fewest since 2021 for him. Even though he was hurt last year, he didn't come into the season and say, I got to score, I got to do that. He is just doing everything for his team. Again, playing less, running hard, as Taylor Jenkins has somehow convinced everybody to do the same thing. Just go fast. This guy is athletic, more athletic probably than half the league. He is playing the fastest possession, or pace, I should say, of his career.
Yeah, hopefully we get him back sooner rather than later, right? I guess he's been out since last year. At the end of last year, he's out with this AC joint sprain, I think is what the diagnosis is. So, yeah, hopefully he's only played 25 games, something like that. So,
I think 20.
20 games.
Ja,
it is. Wow. Jeez. Yeah. Get him back.
Not a lot.
At number 3, it's Trae Young. Because Trae Young isn't just playing iso ball anymore. His baskets are being assisted more than ever in his career. 35% of his baskets are being assisted. That's a career high. It was at 17% in the 21-22 seasons when he went to the conference finals, but they've bumped up every single season. He's taken his fewest shots this season since his rookie year in 2018-2019. His passes are increased. You can check these stats on NBA.com. 65 passes per game, by far the most of his career. He's increased them by about 10 per game from last season. He's 4th in passes in the NBA, and he's averaging the most assists of his career, leading the NBA with 12.2 assists per game. He assists on 45% of the Hawks' baskets when he's out there. He's pushing that ball. The Hawks' pace is faster, so Trae isn't just slowly bringing it up so he can play 1-on-5 ball. The Hawks are 3rd in the NBA in pace, and this is the fastest pace since his first season for him. And his usage rate is the lowest of his career because he's getting Jalen Johnson involved primarily, but everybody involved with the Hawks.
Yeah, and it's weird. Like, Trae Young is having a really good season. Obviously, the Hawks have, until that little slide there, we're playing really, really solid. But he can't really shoot still this year. Like, that's the weird thing with Trae. I mean, I know he hit a 49-foot bomb to win the game against the Jazz last night, but he's shooting like 34% from 3. That's low for him. He takes a lot of them, even up from the field. I think he's like 40%. Probably one of his worst percentages over his career. So you would imagine that'll tick up, but it's nice to see him have other guys help him out. I'm sure he's ecstatic about that.
Yeah, he seems bought in to be an unselfish player this year, which hasn't necessarily been the case in Trae Young's career. His percentages have gotten better every month. He's leading the league in assists. He should be the all-star from the Hawks. We've talked, who's it going to be? Right. Is it going to be Trae? Is it going to be Jalen Johnson? Is it going to be DeAndre Hunter curveball? It should be Trae Young. Not really a question.
Yeah, and I think it will be if the Hawks do get a representative.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Trae Young is a lock at this point.
Yeah. And all the coaches will say, okay, this guy's been doing it for a long time, as they always do. They give the guy has had the career the vote. So I totally agree. I wonder if the Achilles that's bothering him is affecting his shooting percentages. Who knows? But he is having his second lowest true shooting percentage of his career. So that has dropped off. But obviously the guy is balling. He's bought into what they were looking like when they went to the conference finals in 2021, and maybe that got to his head, and he became, more about Trae Young, but now he's, I think, reverted back to that guy. At number 2 on the top 5 point guards that have sacrificed themselves, I think it's Jalen Brunson of the New York Knicks, who sacrificed himself for new cat coming in. He's had to take fewer shots. He was 5th in MVP voting last season, but he said we need to do something else for our team to get even better. He's gone from 28.7 points last season down to 25.3 this season. He took 21.4 shots per game. It's down to 18 shots per game this season, but his team has improved because of it. They've gone from the 7th best offense to the 3rd best offense. Sometimes it's even at first, but it's dropped off a little bit. And his true shooting is up to 60%, which is the best true shooting percentage in his New York Knicks career. So Jalen Brunson is doing what he's got to do to lead an offense.
Yeah, I would think of all these guys so far on the list, this is the least surprising to see from Jalen Brunson to like sort of take that step back for the betterment of the team. Obviously, the new pieces coming in. He still shows those games where he goes for 55 when needed. But this is like he's just sort of built like this. It feels like he really truly is a point guard, picks his spots, sort of sets the table. But it's great to see the true percentage so high.
Yeah, he has found the perfect mix. Last year, he was the main offensive engine for the Knicks, but Towns is such a better offensive player and better like sidekick than Julius Randle is. Randle wants to be the number one guy as well, so like he brings the ball up, gets into his bag, and likes to make plays on his own. Towns will play off of Brunson a lot more, and I think to Brunson's credit, he's realized this guy's incredible.
Yeah.
He gives me a lot of space to do the work. I'm still going to be the man when it comes clutch time, so let's get Towns 40-point games regularly. Let's get him 25 a night. We can both get 25 a night, and that makes our offense even better.
Yep.
I'm so glad we've gotten to number one because I took off my glove and my hand is literally freezing out here. What I need to invest in are those gloves where you can scroll.
That's what I was saying. That's what I said.
Yeah, I do have them when I run, but these are nice mitts for just hanging out, and they're better for camera. They say Canada across them. Anyways. Donovan Mitchell is number one. Donovan Mitchell was the guy last season. Everything sort of was about him in the media. Look at this guy. Look, he's shooting everything. He was 9th in scoring in the NBA last season. He's down to 28th this season. And his team has gone from the 16th best offense last season, even though everyone was talking about Donovan Mitchell. They've gone to first because he's sacrificed. That's a first rating that's even a couple points better than the Boston Celtics. Now, what does he sacrifice? Well, Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, they are scoring more, they're shooting more threes, and they're shooting better three-point percentages, both of those guys. And so he's taking a tiny step back. Mitchell has, but those other guys have obviously stepped up, and he's shooting his best three-point percentage of his career, Donovan Mitchell, over 40%, because he's taking fewer of them with great passes. I cannot wait for the playoffs with this guy because there's so much talk about this Cleveland Cavaliers team. Maybe it's that team like the Atlanta Hawks when they won 60 games, a great regular season team, but just doesn't have a superstar to take over in the playoffs. But this guy has shown that in the postseason. He's only been to one conference final. He hasn't been to an NBA Finals, but he's shown that he can do that. And he starts every Cavalanche, I love saying that, when they get it going in Cleveland. So this is a fun look ahead, and it's a fun season for obviously the Cavs. They're doing things that are unexpected of this team.
Yeah, they're dominating right now. I know we'll get into the Thunder-Cavs game tonight. Everybody's excited for that one at 7 p.m. on ESPN, but Mitchell, he's got a healthy Garland now. I think that's a huge part of the equation. That guy had a rough year last year where he was in and out with all those crazy injuries. And then Mobley's leveling up, obviously just getting more experience. He's hitting threes now. Mitchell can pick his spots to sort of take over quarters and take over games, and that's why they have the best record in the league.
Yeah, only 23, 4, and 5 for Donovan Mitchell, which means he's probably going to get screwed in all NBA when it comes to it. The Cavs are the best team in the league with one of the best offenses in the league. You think he should be an all NBA first teamer, but because he's been so unselfish and bought into the ball movement system that Kenny Atkinson brought, his numbers are depressed. But it's also Darius Garland playing better than he was last season and being more confident in where he's going to get his shots. Mobley has certainly taken a step forward, and having less on his plate I think is better for Donovan Mitchell. It felt like last year when push comes to shove, we're just going pick and roll for Donovan Mitchell. You figure it out. Maybe somebody will make a play if you get them a shot. That's not the case anymore. He will get off the ball. Maybe it'll come back to him. He's getting assisted on more three-pointers than he has since he came to Cleveland. He just seems to understand that I'm still going to be the man when it comes down to it, but we need everybody to be playing well to play our best.
Yeah. All right. He's grown up. For him to sign an extension this past offseason, even though, yes, there's a lot of talk about him last year and he was an all-star, he didn't make an all-NBA team. There could have been more for him, and then they go into the playoffs, and, the Boston Celtics ran over them. And so he could have said, I want to go to a bigger market. But to sign and to play this way, he really has changed.
All right, so the top 5 point guards sacrificing themselves for their team. Steph Curry, Ja Morant, Trae Young, Jalen Brunson, and Donovan Mitchell. Good stuff there. Tassie, let's talk more about Steph Curry, though, the guy that led your list, because in a recent interview with ESPN, Warrior superstar Steph Curry shared his thoughts on his team's 2 timeline approach, which began with the 2020 NBA draft. That was the year the Warriors took James Wiseman. And then they followed that up by taking Kuminga and Moody in 2021. The idea was to bridge the gap between the dynasty core and the future. And despite capturing the title in 2022, Curry believes now that strategy has been scrutinized harshly in hindsight. In the article, Curry also sent a clear message, I thought at least, to the Warriors front office. He said, quote, "I just want to win, and they know that. Until it's all said and done, we want to have at least one more title to speak for, and that's it. That's what's left for me. That's all of it. I still love to hoop, but I love to win even more." You read the article, I'm sure. TK, Tas, you as well. Trae, I'll start with your thoughts, though. What do you think of this, Trae, talking about the 2 timeline, how it sort of didn't really work, and then really, again, I think, a little bit of pressure from Steph Curry, hey, I got one more in me, but you got to get the roster around me to get me there.
That's exactly what it was. He said Wise has had a tough run. I agree. Called him Wise.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Steph Curry never does anything like this, which is why it hit so hard,
yes.
I think, because this is a critical moment. You could tell after the game last night, they got blown out by a Heat team playing on the second night of a back-to-back after a double overtime game without Jimmy Butler. It was bad. Steph Curry's walking around looking despondent. In the post-game press conference, Steve Kerr brings up Twitter charts saying that our team is at the bottom in combined layups and free throws. It's a personnel-based issue, and that's a question for the front office. That, to me, felt a little bit like a concerted effort to say, we need something to happen here because it's not just happening with Steph. Like Tas said, he's sacrificing himself, but that's because it's so easy for teams to defend the Warriors. Mm-hmm. They know we just got to get the ball out of Steph's hands. He might make a tough shot at the end of the possession if he's able to get open for, I think they called it a fingernail of space is what Gary Payton II called it. Very great term. Maybe that'll happen, but if the ball doesn't get back to Steph, you're living with the results of literally anybody else on the Warriors trying to make a play, trying to create a shot, or just taking a jumper. Everything seems tough for the Warriors right now. So between Curry and Kerr last night, it definitely felt like they're saying the 3 main people here think we can win. Kerr, Draymond, and Curry. We need to figure out the rest of it. And the clock is ticking because is Steph Curry really going to be okay with the Kobe Bryant 3-year farewell tour? That's what the Lakers did. They played out the end of Kobe's career. Mm-hmm. Same with the Mavericks and Dirk Nowitzki. That's what happened. Mm-hmm. Is Curry happy with that? He sounds like he wants to win another title.
Yeah. Is this how you read it, Tas? For at least for a guy like Steph Curry who rarely does stuff like this, was this him sort of subtly or not so subtly applying a little bit of pressure to the Warriors front office? Hey, let's get some new guys in here, or let's do something?
Yes, absolutely. The winds are blowing in Golden State and here in Atlanta. That there needs to be something done. I think that's clear. Steph, we're at 16 years, has never done anything like this. 16 years of his career, he's been super quiet. And the comparisons to the Spurs dynasty are accurate in that their leader kept it in-house. And mm-hmm. Tim Duncan always kept it in-house, and so did Steph. But for him to verbally say that, for Kerr to be quoting Twitter charts, which is odd, I think it's all in the same sort of realm. We got to change if we want to win. Steph has done everything for Golden State. He's done everything for a new arena being built, everything for that franchise and the fan base. And they're able to win 4. That's, obviously an incredible accomplishment. But he wants 5. And I think they have, these new eyes in the front office with Mike Dunleavy leading the front office, the ability to do that. They do have a team that's looking to win and to get better, led by a franchise that's a front office, I should say, with that idea. And I think the Dennis Schroeder trade, obviously it hasn't worked. They need somebody to take his spot and put Dennis Schroeder to the bench, where Chris Paul was last year, running a second unit. That's where Dennis Schroeder belongs. He is not a guy who really works off the ball all that well. He needs to run an offense, and that's what he could do with the second unit. So as soon as they make a trade, they will be much better off. But that exactly what happened last night is what's, we talked about with the point guards that have sacrificed themselves. Steph had a great game, because he is one of the best players ever.
Yeah. But
he just doesn't have the supporting cast. It just hasn't. it hasn't materialized at all. Even if we talk about, I know Kuminga's hurt, but even with Kuminga there, they just don't have a number 2 offensive player.
And you said this the other day, Trae, and it stuck with me. This second timeline that the Warriors front office, or at least some people in their front office, seem so fond of, that idea, it starts when Curry is gone. That's the second timeline. This whole thing of trying to bridge the gap, and it sounded cute and sounded good, it just like, it sort of blew up in their face, if we're being honest, because they maybe held on to these young guys and these prospects when they should have been pushing the chips in a little bit more aggressively for players that could maybe help Curry and Draymond continue to win at a high level or compete at a high level. Once he's gone, you're going to be in the dark days of the NBA. I'm sorry, you just are. Like, no matter who's there, or whatever young prospects you have there, it's very tough to sort of balance the two. But man, this is a weird final stage of Curry's career. You're right, and you don't want to see it similar to the way sort of Kobe's went to and Dirk's to some extent, and nor does Steph. And I think Steph's playing at a higher level than both of those guys were at the end of their careers still, just with the way he plays the game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Kobe got to 20 seasons, right? Dirk was pretty close, so Curry's getting there, but we'll see what the last 3 or 4 years of his career are like. But I don't know. They got lucky to get a number 2 pick because Curry went out, played 5 games. I guess that was, the 1920 season or something like that? Broke his hand, whatever. They lucked into getting Wiseman. Imagine if they took LaMelo. They probably do have the 2 timelines, and it's getting stretched out. At least you got somebody going forward, but they picked Wiseman. Didn't work. Their best draft pick in the past 10 years has been Jordan Poole, who was instrumental in getting them a title, and then obviously Draymond punched him in the face and they shipped out Poole.
Yeah,
sometimes you just got to get lucky. I don't think the Spurs really planned a second timeline, but when they happened to draft Kawhi and they grew him into something, they said, okay, now we can move this direction. And it was successful for a while, but hey, we got a number 2 pick, James Wiseman, just do it. That obviously did not work.
Yeah, but now they have the option or they should at least, I think, because you owe it to Curry to make these moves, to make a drastic move too. I mean, Dennis Schroeder's Dennis Schroeder. He's not going to move the needle on winning a championship. To make a really big move to get a co-star. This is really what we're getting at here. Every championship for Curry, he's had a co-star, so to speak, and you generally need that in the NBA. And Draymond Green's your defensive stud, but he's not your offensive co-star. So they need that, and he needs that, and they should be going all in. Because have they done enough to create a roster here to allow Steph Curry to have a chance at his 5th title? I don't think so right now, as currently constructed.
Not even close.
Yeah.
He has to play perfectly for them to win.
Yeah. Great article. I'm going to put it in the show notes. I encourage everyone to read it. My favorite part, or one of my favorite parts from this, was talk about Curry building his fortune sort of off the floor. Just made me laugh. Quote, he has television shows and commercials, his own shoe brand, and a bourbon. And then this was Curry within the article saying, nice little heat to it, he says, as if reading from the distiller's notes. Not too overpowering, some flavorful notes, some caramel. End quote there. So Steph Curry selling his bourbon within this great article about the paradox of what the Warriors are doing with him.
That sounded like Jay Skeets talking about a potato chip that has a little heat to it, doesn't it? I immediately thought of Skeets. Oh, this. Oh, yeah, it's got a little.
What are you talking about?
Oh, and sometimes you get a barbecue sauce and say, ooh, that's got a nice little heat to that.
I gotta try this bourbon. I'm interested. He sold me on it, Steph.
Yeah.
I liked the question. Do you look at the season as 82 one-act plays or one long novel with 82 chapters?
He liked that question too.
He's like, whoa!
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's writing for you.
And he said it's changed his perspective, did he not?
I think he said it's 82 one-act plays now, and it used to be one long novel with 82 chapters. He's like, I got to prepare so much for this one thing. It takes it all out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really am interested into when this entire interview took place. It just seemed like such a big piece that a lot of the parts happened in October, November.
Maybe.
And so this was almost just well-timed here to release it.
Sit on it for when the Warriors are struggling.
Yeah, just wait, bud.
It does feel like a different lifetime ago that the Warriors started 12-3. Is that what they were?
Yeah.
Wow. No, that was this season.
Yes.
And then things went poorly. So we'll see what they do. Great stuff. Really, really interesting article up on ESPN. Okay, so tonight's Pick'em game, we'll get to the actual picks in a second, but we got to hype this game a little bit because we have the 30-5 Oklahoma City Thunder visiting the 31-4 Cleveland Cavaliers. You do not get too many regular season games of this magnitude where teams are both playing this well. Some numbers to know. I like that ESPN, the NBA, a lot of the media partners trying to hype this up because we should be. You see here a few just stats I'm going to give you. First matchup in NBA history between a team on a 15-game win streak, OKC, and a team on a 10-game win streak in the Cavaliers. That sort of blew my mind. I mean, those are long win streaks, but first time ever? That's fun. Second time in NBA history that multiple teams have won at least 30 of their first 35 games in the same season, because both these teams have done that. The Lakers and Bucks back in 71, 72 had hot starts. That's where we're at with OKC and Cleveland. And then you see the net ratings there, the highest point differentials. Thunder and Cavs have the 4th and 5th highest point differentials of all time, respectively. That's great. So, Tas, pumped about this one. It is our pick'em game. And what's the line on this? Where does Vegas think about this game?
Well, it's in Cleveland, so they automatically get a couple points, I suppose, and that's why it's 3.5. I mean, it just feels like home team gets a couple points in this one, although I knew you guys were going to be totally comfortable taking OKC. They're the hot team, and I'm just a stubborn man who's looking for a shed as well. I took Cleveland. They're at home. They deserve the respect, and we'll see what they can do with it. It is funny at this point, number one, to see everybody hyping this game. That has to happen more. We need more of that just in general, more hyping of games. And the second part is these streaks that they're on with OKC, and they did lose the NBA Cup in the middle of this streak, so that's always funny. But I really just picked the home team. And again, because I'm stubborn in this one, I have no idea if OKC is going to be able to stop the great Cleveland offense, top defense of OKC against the top Cleveland offense. OKC is so good at pressuring that ball around the perimeter, and Cleveland is just so good at spreading the ball around the perimeter. So I think they can pass it around enough to avoid OKC steals, but that's what they do best, so we will see.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it lives up to the hype. What will you be watching in this game? You obviously have OKC. I do as well. So does Ash. Tas, the only one taking the Cavs by 3.5. But is there a player or something you're watching in particular of this potentially NBA Finals preview?
I would like to see Donovan Mitchell and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander somehow end up matched up on each other. I know Donovan outmated Shai, so I'm hoping that Shai is looking for his revenge. But the main reason I picked the Thunder is how many times have they been an underdog this season?
Yeah, few and far between.
Got to be less than 5.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surely on the win streak they haven't. So yeah.
Jeez.
We'll see.
Wow, that's a funny point. If Shai and the Thunder do get this win, there'll be some reference in Shai's Instagram post to the Skims, right? For
Skims,
sure.
Yeah.
Some reference when he does his little bars that he always does every couple of days.
Put on the Skims. Don't need 4 hymns.
There you go. You just wrote it for him. It's not bad. All right, so hopefully it lives up to the hype. That one's on ESPN at 7 p.m. Eastern. Thunder Cavs, can't wait. Before we go, another exciting game this weekend. The College Park, Skyhawks game here in Atlanta. We're going to be on the call once again. They're inviting us back. And it's Kids Day. It's Bluey Day here on Sunday. This game is at 2 p.m. Eastern here in Atlanta. And I believe you can seek this game out on the YouTube channels. And we're going to be on the call once again. So I guess we did a well enough job last year. As we said, it's not easy to call a game live, but we're excited. And man, I hope I get a photo with Bluey. Guess I got to get there early.
That'll probably be a big line.
I assume so.
I can't wait to see Tony Bradley.
Yeah,
Bulls
he plays
legend
for this
Tony
guy.
Bradley as a College Park Skyhawk, 5 for 5 in Game 3 of the first round of the 2021 playoffs.
Well, is it correct that the last game we called was the Kobe Buffkin
2022.
game where he went nuts for 40?
Yeah, he did.
That's right.
41.
So maybe Keaton Wallace goes nuts in this one. Tas, he's been playing well. But anyway, are you pumped about this? You're gonna be inside. That'll be good.
Yeah, I was there on Sunday. I saw Tony Bradley live. They were all high-fiving him as he had a defensive 3-second in the paint call. You know how sometimes teams are like, yes, that means you're playing defense. Good stuff, even though the other team, Henry Ellenson.
Oh,
Yeah, he got the free throw for the Wisconsin Herd our man who looks like Ben Golliver. Let's be quite honest.
Yeah, he does, yep.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a fun time. You got to have a VIP pass if you're going to get a photo with Bluey. Apparently.
Wow.
It's
He's big time in people.
It's Bluey. Bluey is huge.
I guess.
Apparently.
Yeah, for sure. We're very excited. That's on Sunday. We'll keep reminding you as the rest of the week goes on. All right, Tas, great work. I know you tried to show us your breath early on in front of the
you couldn't
recycling.
see it, huh?
Yeah, but there was parts where you're just talking and it is like, it's crazy how cold it is. Yeah, look at it right now. Just you breathe in here. Yeah. Every time you try to do it, it doesn't do it.
Yes. Does my breath change as I push it?
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know.
Does the actual air coming out of my mouth change? Yeah, it's chilly out here.
Those are a little rosy today.
Yeah. I do like that it's getting colder and colder as the week goes on, and hopefully we get that snow on Friday. But Tas, we'll get you inside here in a second. Thanks everybody for joining us live. Hit the like button, subscribe. If you're enjoying this Tas Pick 'em Payoff, make sure you show your appreciation by doing that. Podcast listeners, 5-star ratings and reviews. We're back tomorrow. Until then, Clipper Bros!
You heard it here first. Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
Thanks for joining us, and remember, Skims, the company, is a partner of NBA, which is odd.
Yeah.
I saw them in a Google search the other day when I was looking. I believe I was looking up what Jim Peterson, Wolves color commentator, the great Wolves color commentator, when he said the word nipple on a basketball floor, he was calling a spot. This is the nipple of a basketball floor. So when I looked it up, I think Skims came up in my Google search. That's all I have to say. That's why I saw it. And I'm sticking to
And
it.
as everybody knows, Commissioner Silver also wears Skims.
Yeah.
I'm wearing them right now.
Praise today, people.